Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Yeah.
The views expressed by J. Michael McCoy are the views of the hosts and guests of Max World Live, and not necessarily the views of Webcast One Live, its staff, its management, the cleaning crew, Dave the electric guy, the guy who cleans the skywalk, the woman who brought in the cookies, the management staff of Hubble Real Estate, the parking lot attendant at Keck Parking, the wait staff over at Miss Kitty's, the coffee crew at Frederick's, the man in the street corner willing to work for food, Rob Spearman, Max Crab, or anyone else of sound mind. Should you be offended, provoked, intimidated, shocked, confused, or just made to think independently, log on to maxworldlive.com right now. It's your voice we want to hear in Max World. And now, live from the palatial studios of Webcast One Live, your host, J. Michael McCoy.
4 minutes after 3 on the 7th day of October in the Lord's year 2014. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Did you hear that? He said these were the palatial studios.
The palatial. I've heard that.
The palatial. Is this? I'd say this pretty white trash, really.
Well, I'd say it's somewhere in between. Palatial is a bit of a, I would call it hyperbole, would not you?
Well,
yes.
you got a padded chair, though, right?
I do.
It goes up and down.
And this one, we had those chairs for a while, Mac, that would all of a sudden start going down. Yeah.
Well, I was going to
without warning.
I have a confession to make, okay? You're going to need to forgive me for this, because actually I have buttons right underneath here. And every time a guest would say something dingy, I'd push that button and the chair would drop.
Well, it must have been it, because we've upgraded. These actually stay in place, so I'm appreciative of that. But I would not call this palatial, but it's a nice way to describe it if you've not seen it.
That's like saying, is the girl pretty? And you say, she's got a great personality. Tom Coates is in the house today, and our special guest is Tamara Scott, who is the National Committee Chairwoman.
National Committee woman.
Okay, for the Republican Party.
I don't get a chair.
Okay.
No char.
Well, you've got one there. It's padded.
Yeah. It would have been much more fun if you would have ejected people when they said something.
Yeah, that's true.
Stupid.
If I could get this to shoot them out of the top of the Hub Tower. But see, we don't. We've only had a couple people in here that we'd ever want to eject. One would have been that guy running in Waukee that wouldn't tell us the truth.
You talking about Desmond?
Yeah.
Yeah, Desmond.
And, probably not Mike Libby, but we could have shaken him up a little bit.
I might have a little longer list than you. The more recent interview with Jonathan Narcisse, I was pretty frustrated with.
You mean soon-to-be Governor Narcisse?
Yes, that's right. Soon-to-be Governor Narcisse.
All right. So you are the National Committee woman for the Republican Party. Now, that sounds like you're kind of a mucky-muck. You're a big deal.
Well, it depends who you talk to.
Okay. How many women are in the National Committee?
Well, each state has one man, one woman, and a chair.
All right. You said you don't get a chair.
We have a chair.
Okay. And so who's your male counterpart?
Steve Scheffler in Iowa.
All right. And are you two on the same side? Or you're supposed to be on the same side?
We're both Republicans.
Okay.
We're both conservatives.
She's skirting. Did you notice how she just skirted?
We don't always
Squirrel!
agree.
Now, who's the chair at this point, Tamara?
Jeff Kaufman.
Okay, and we'll talk about that, but
that was that thing.
That was a skirmish a couple months back.
Yeah, because I called you and said, who should I be thinking about here?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
See, I'm going to have to get back up on this political stuff now that the radio station's changing.
Yes, you will. And we do have a very important election coming up in November on the 4th for everyone.
That's
I'd heard that.
That's less than 30 days.
I think we've heard that somewhere, haven't we, Mac?
Yeah.
So
what is it,
everyone-
November?
We're less than a month out.
November 4th.
4th.
Everyone needs to be registered to vote. Some people have already voted.
I have.
Yeah.
That's 4 weeks from today.
Yeah, there's been a push by the Republicans to try to make up some ground. The Democrats have really outdone us on the early voting, and I've got mixed feelings about it. But from the top down, Branstad on down, they've been pushing to try to get the Republicans to vote early. Where do you stand on that issue, Tamara?
I like to go to the poll.
Yeah, I
If
do too.
if George Washington could cross the Delaware on a snowy Christmas Eve in bare feet, certainly I can walk myself across the pole. I like the act. I think it's the most honorable thing I can do besides serving in the military. And beyond that, I have concerns about it. At the same time, I see why they promote it. It saves candidates money. Because once you've turned in that ballot, they scratch you off their list. You stop getting the phone calls. They don't send the
Postcards.
mail. So it saves them
Well,
money.
there's more than that. There's a percentage of people that for whatever reason on election day don't get there. Maybe they intended to.
Yeah.
Somebody gets sick.
Right.
Something comes up. They forget about it. And there's a certain percentage that drop out because we don't make it easy for them. Maybe they're elderly. Maybe whoever knows. But we do need to make it easier for some of our constituents to get that early voting. But I feel like you. I like to go. I like to feel like I'm actively participating on election day.
And let me give you my concern about it. Most elections, and to be fair, last election cycle, I think Western Iowa had some pretty significant tornadoes. Electricity went out, and some of them didn't get their voting in.
There you go.
At the same time, in Iowa, most of your election officials are your county auditors. And so they may not know exactly how Tom Coates is going to vote or Mac's going to vote, but they know how you lean. They know how you're registered. You can call any county auditor right now and they can tell you we have this number of Republicans, this number of Democrats, and this number of independents who have requested a ballot. So for me, I think it changes the game. I think they know we've got to have this many more ballots to beat the Republican number or the number of independents we know from our polling that lean Republican. And so I think it changes the game to manipulation and tactics rather than a leader who can speak the truth and bring people to the polls. So that I hate. I want to go back to people speaking, reaching out, finding connections with those that they can get behind as an elected official and getting to the polls. That's my concern about it. And you bypass the October surprises that often come out as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I mean, if I vote now and some big embarrassment comes out on any of the races, you pick one, or maybe on a national, something Obama has done that's even more outlandish than before. He said the other day, Tamara, that make no mistake, this upcoming election, I'm not on the ballot, but my policies are. Now, some Democrats squirmed at that, and then there's speculation on why he would say it, but he certainly is. So let's say he does something even more outrageous between now and Election Day. I've already cast my ballot. Maybe I'm independent, saying, oh, well, I'll give him one more chance. And that's the last straw, but I can't take it back.
You can't take it back. And then the other concern is, and I even heard people say this, you never know when the good Lord will call you home. Okay, so what happens to that ballot? We joke about Illinois having dead people vote, but we have people who vote with, or they send people to the care facilities with that intention.
Well, didn't we just have, like in Missouri a few years ago, the candidate died after being elected, so his wife
ran and got the sympathy vote.
Yeah, certainly.
And we have seen some scoundrels that troll the nursing homes and take people that are no longer hardly even responsive, and put ballots in front of their nose and help them fill it out. Typically, that's done by the other side of the fence. It's the Democrat scoundrels that'll stoop to such tactics. But it's not unheard of, and it's not that uncommon even.
It's not that uncommon. And we never want to disenfranchise a voter, but let's be serious. If someone's not paying attention, if they're not cognitive, should they be voting?
All right, it is Mac's World on the 7th day of October. Get your headphones on because we have a special call from a very special guest. Let's play Karnak here, Tom. Who's on the phone?
Would his name begin with an F?
It is.
Is this Frank?
This is the voice.
Who never asks a question?
When I come down to the Palatial Studios, let me know when the cookies get delivered. I want cut in on that deal.
When the cookies get delivered?
Yeah, it says on your intro that the guy that delivers the cookies not held responsible for the views and the beliefs down there.
Oh, that's right.
That's part of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question for Tom and Tamara and Mac too, if you got an opinion. I waited for the almighty Iowa Bar Association rating system to come out on retention of the judges, and I don't know that I know any more than I knew when I started.
Did it come out?
Yes, it come out the 6th of come out yesterday.
Okay, so it just came out.
The lowest rating of anybody is 80%. Judge Blank, who I got a high recommendation on, actually got a block, got 100%. Now this is from, generally speaking, lawyers tend to lean liberal, and these are the people who are voting on their rating. Now the lowest person was 84%. A guy I got a very high recommendation on, Blank, only received an 89, and there was multiple people that got 97s and 98s.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any of these individuals you particularly have reservations about, of the 13 that are up for retention? Because otherwise, it looks like to me they're all okay.
That's the difficulty, I think. It's such a hard thing to know how the judges lean or don't lean. And to me, it's the worldview. I want to know what their worldview is. Do they, one, honor the God of our founding fathers? Do they understand the Constitution and apply it appropriately? Those are the questions. But we only can go on cases that we know about. So oftentimes I think it's best just to call, if it's a local district judge, call people in the area who have been in front of him, who know him personally, who can tell you what their thoughts are on this judge. The thing is, most attorneys, because they practice in these judges and will risk going before these judges again, won't say much negative about them. Yeah. And we're asking them a lot to even expect them to do that. It was very quiet this year. You know, in 2010, we were trying to oust one of the fourth judges. We ousted the three historically in 2010 that we should have. They overstepped their bounds. They crossed the lines, the branches of government. And so in 2012, we had one more on the ballot, Wiggins. Now, I think if the numbers are right, more Iowans voted to oust him than ousted the three in 2010. So it's not that the interest wasn't there or that we've lost the argument, but it was a presidential election and more uninformed or lower informed voters turned out, and he remained in his post. But it wasn't that the fervor wasn't there to do so.
The campaign to keep him was more fervent than the campaign to get rid of him, is in my estimation.
Well,
it's
you could be right. And Wiggins had more of a questionable.
He had a 60-some%.
Yeah, he was not viewed even by people on his side as particularly competent. No. Now, I'll tell you how I do it, Frank. Just make it easy. I always vote no to all of them.
Well, I have been told if you don't vote at all, it's like voting yes, because in essence, the only a yes vote or a no vote is a status quo. Mm-hmm. So the only thing you're going to be able to do to move the system is to vote no.
Yeah, that's what I always do, Frank. I don't worry about, don't spend my time doing a lot of research on these things. I just vote no to all of them.
And see, I'm concerned because I figure there's no way we'll probably get somebody more conservative now than that is already there. So I have concerns about voting them out. But my husband has your policy, Tom. He just votes them all out. And many Iowans are coming to that. When we saw the Bar Association get behind with their yes ban and do their yes tour, and they were promoting the judge Wiggins, who I think had the worst, if not among the worst, ratings from his peers. These are from his peers.
Yeah, I think it was the worst.
So are you telling me, in essence, the Bar Association shouldn't be trusted?
You think? And here's the other thing is, organizations, they're known to judge themselves, and I think they do keep pretty good tabs on attorneys who get out of line, disciplinary action, that type of thing. But with the judges, I don't seem to have that comfort level when it was yes, retain them all. And here's my other concern with it. Since we did the 2010 removal, which was totally within our realm, it had been in that place since I think 1960. We had that retention vote. It is the only voice of the public, and if you don't vote on them, you don't get till another 8 years to vote on a particular judge. So
you can't tell me that Wiggins and Appel and some of these others that are over on the left, that we can't do better. If we could put those guys out, surely we can get a man or a woman in.
If you could put those guys out,
yeah,
yes.
I mean, you can surely. I mean, you could throw a rock and hit something and do better than that.
Those three remaining guys, and I've heard some concerns about Mark Cady, but the three of those remaining four that got ousted the last go-around aren't up till 16. So there's no real Supreme Courts up this time. It's lower courts.
Right. It's district and appellate.
But still, they can make an impact.
Absolutely.
Sure. Absolutely.
And my concern is it's almost like a shot in the dark to know anything about him unless you've come up against him. And a guy that I got very high marks on, two people I respect highly. Blank only received an 89, and Block received 100. Now, I find it hard to believe, and Block apparently, I've been told that Branstad appoints pretty good judges overall. And Block apparently was a Brandstand appointee, but Block received 100%. That's
right.
hard to believe.
Frank, hold on just a second. We're going to take our first hard break. Tamara Scott, the National Committee woman on the Republican Party for the state of Iowa, is our guest. It's Max World with Tom Coates, and we are live. If you've got questions or comments, 244-0077, live here on 99.3 KTIA, Iowa.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
See them here, see them there. You got bad credit? We don't care.
Visit emetroford.com for your guaranteed credit approval. Good credit, bad credit, no credit. Everybody drives with guaranteed credit approval at emetroford.com. Visit emetroford.com today.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
21 minutes after the hour on this 7th day of October. If you're listening to this show live on 99.3 KTIA or off the web, we appreciate it. If you have downloaded this program into a podcast and are watching it or listening to it there, we thank you even more. Well, we don't thank you more, but we thank you a lot, too, because we know there's tons of choices that you could download and listen to, and you've chosen this one, and I appreciate that. There are very few local podcasts who talk about the issues that we do in Max World with Tom Coates. And if you've got somebody you'd like us to interview or you'd like to have on the radio, or perhaps you've got a view that you'd like to have heard, let me know. Get a hold of me on Facebook or email me. Go to the website at macmccoy.com. That's MACMCKOY.com, or go to webcastonelive.com. Contact, and it all gets to me. And I answer my mail personally. I don't have anyone that answers my mail. I answer it myself. And I say that because that will give me a good excuse of why it takes me a week to get back to you.
What do the executive assistants do then, Mac?
I don't have executive assistants anymore. I got me and Coco. And Coco, he's just a chihuahua, so he doesn't do anything. But we do have Tamara Scott with us today, the National Committee woman for the Republican Party of the state of Iowa. And Frank brought up some points about judges, and let's just wrap that up with your final thoughts on that, Tamara.
Well, in 2010, when we historically removed 3 who had overstepped their bounds, the judges and the Bar Association accused us of politicizing the system when in fact we were simply utilizing the system that had been in place since the early 1960s. But what they have done since that time, and the Iowans should know and be aware of, gone on a very expensive public relations tour to many of your college campuses where they can indoctrinate young freshmen who are becoming independent thinkers and making up their minds on things, just simply trying to get the judges in front of them, make their personalities known, make that connection so it's more difficult for someone to oust a judge on simply objective material or objective thinking. And so that's your tax dollars working to campaign for these folks who accused us of politicizing the system.
Good point.
And the other thing that they've done is they now have kangaroo courts across the state. If you've got a case that's going to go to our Supreme Court in the state or maybe the appellate court, they will now hold courts in various locations. And I get the idea of trying to get people to maybe participate. At the same time, we just built a very expensive Supreme Court building that's a beautiful facility. And if you've got a case that's going to be heard and they ask you where you want your case heard, how many people are bravely going to say, I demand it's at the court or at the building? They're going to go along because they don't want to upset anybody, but they deserve the majesty. They deserve the reverence of being in the Supreme Court building.
Okay.
All right. You said you were at the Stacey Appel, David Young.
I did.
Okay.
I did attend last night. I didn't attend the first one. From what I hear, the first one, she showed up, but there wasn't much of a debate.
The visuals, Tamara, I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to observe it. I TiVoed it and I watched it after the fact. The visuals in the first one were different. There were 3 people sitting at a table. There were moderators. The old boy that does the Iowa Press, Kay.
The old boy.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. But Kathy Obradovich, Kay, what's her name?
Okay, Henderson.
Kay Henderson, nice gal. And they were sitting down. But she was sitting already lower than he was. He's not a tall man, but she was sitting lower, and then she stooped the whole time. So the visuals were good. And he was much stronger in that first debate. He was, I thought last night, I'm going to get your opinion, but I thought he was more nervous. He was more halting and stumbling. He was more limited with his words. The first one, he was more on the offensive. She was on the defensive and made that stupid comment about how she... And it was consistent, though, Tamara. It was consistent because we heard when Cruz and the other guys were in for the Iowa Faith and Freedom, he had proposed a bill in the U.S. Senate which would have denied the passports, taken them away from the people that were suspected terrorists. And the Democrats all linked arms and blocked it. So this was not an anomaly. She was saying consistently what the Democrats believe. No, we can't take these guys' passports away. Well, she got instantly beat up because she didn't throw a qualifier in there. And Young properly and his people jumped on her, and she's been trying to take it back ever since. Well, I didn't see that same David Young in the debate last night, and I saw a stronger Stacey Appel. I don't know, it was a crowd, it was a setting, he had to stand, I don't know, but I was very disappointed. He missed a lot of opportunities, I thought, to come across, to take her on everything from immigration to her support of partial birth abortion and everything else. He just left it lay there. He had multiple opportunities to hit at least a base hit, if not a home run, and he passed on it. Now, I don't know if it's intentional. I know he's a smart guy. I visited with him. But if he's taken the Romney stance that we can play prevent defense, I think he's going to come up short, just like Romney did. Romney let that last debate go. Yeah, he got the second one stolen from him by Candy Crowley, but that third one that was on foreign policy, he let that go so people could think he was a nice guy. I hope David doesn't make that mistake.
Is this their last debate?
No, they've got one more.
Do they have one more?
Yeah.
But it won't be as high profile as the KCCI Des Moines Register. See, that's the thing that Ernst did well. She did a good job on the highest profile. The KCCI and the Des Moines Register has the highest profile, has the highest ratings of any of them by far. And so last night was an important one, and I think David missed an opportunity. Your thoughts?
The crowd seemed to think that he did well.
Okay.
The Twitter, for the most part, thought he did well and that she did not do so well. But, of course, my friends would lean that way. In the very beginning, I was a little disappointed with the way they structured the debate. You could have no applause. You could not have your cameras on. Basically no audience participation whatsoever. And I find that very frustrating when in this day and age we want as much participation as possible in the civic arena. In fact, I'm not even sure they didn't have our phones jammed because I tried to tweet out a couple times and it would not send.
I'm sorry, is that possible technically?
Depending on what type of a building you're in, how heavy the insulators are, I don't know. But I tried, my husband tried, so I don't know. But I couldn't, my messages kept failing.
Wow.
So maybe it was just God's protection so I didn't say
Maybe
something stupid later on.
You think I saw Tom Harkin was there last night. Do you think he could jammed his phone?
I don't know. We were pleased he could find his way through Indianola since he's not there very often.
You said, this is off the subject, but you said something about God doing something.
Yeah,
so
to save me from trouble.
I've written emails to people sometimes. This doesn't happen very often. And I'll try to send it, and I'll try to send it, and I'll try to send it, and I finally just figured God didn't want it to go.
Yeah.
And so I just...
Phone calls get dropped.
Yeah.
There's a scripture verse that says, where there are many words, there is sin.
Yeah.
That could be.
So maybe he's just protecting us. But the very beginning of the debate, it started out, and even in her opening statement, I thought she made a couple of comments that somebody should have come back at her with. And of course, you can't expect the mediator. They really did question her a couple of times, which I was surprised and pleased they did. Mm-hmm. They also gave her several rebuttals on questions where she was never confronted, so she shouldn't have gotten rebuttals.
Right.
And but the one thing she talked about was, I would not give a terrorist a passport. That wasn't the question. The question was, would you remove one from someone who has proven that they would fight with the terrorist against American citizens? So she never answered the question again. Then they didn't ask her, they should have pinned her down. Are you in agreement or disagreement with the administration? If this would have been a Republican, they would have created that division between the camp.
Yeah.
They never did that. She continually talks about her 6 children, which I believe she has a nanny who cares for them.
She did in the first one as well. She constantly reminded people that she was a mother and had 6 children.
The Twitter last night was, or the Facebook was, it's a new drinking game. Take a shot every time she mentions her 6 kids, and someone will be drunk by the time of the debate.
That's good.
I don't advocate drinking, Mom.
But no, that's a good thing.
You guys are both neither one. Well, you've been elected, but not by the public.
By the voters of the state party for the Republican Party.
All right, and you've never run for office.
No.
So why would she lay so much on this? I've got 6 kids and I'm a mom.
She's trying to show the pain of she's trying to, I think, in my opinion, in fact, she made the comment, my middle-class families. And I thought, who are you? My middle-class families?
Yeah.
The middle-class families.
Right.
Our middle-class. But that gives you a little bit of who she thinks she is.
And Hillary Clinton did the same thing when she stepped out of the State Department. She initially said, well, we were virtually broke when we left the White House, and tried to align herself with the middle class.
Right.
And yet here she steps out, making 6 figures every time she opens her mouth at a speaking engagement. And Bill does the same thing. They made millions of dollars, and yet she was doing the same thing.
Bill Clinton was always trying to feel your pain.
Yes.
And I thought, I want to see this guy go speak to a women's groups who are recovering from victims of rape, and see if he's felt their pain there.
Exactly.
He's always felt their pain.
They said the other day that we can do something about this, this abuse of women, and yet. They've got Bill Clinton and Ted Kennedy, some of the biggest serial abusers of women right there in their party, and they still hold them up as icons. So anyway, go on about your observations of last night.
Other comments, of course, she wants to fully fund every program that's out there. Fully fund. The key is to fully fund it. Like government is a solution to everything, and we know that, gosh, since the Department of Education has even come into existence, grades have continued to decline, and education has been more of an issue. So fully funding is not always the key. And then she mentioned she wants money out of politics. And I thought, I don't have the records in front of me, but didn't her husband give quite a handsome amount of money to Vilsack before he was appointed
Yes.
as
Yep.
a Supreme Court justice.
Exactly.
And no one talked to her. No one said. In fact, they asked, "Who would you like to see retire off the Supreme Court?" And they laughed between her and the mediators.
Yes.
Are we talking the Supreme Court at the
US
federal
Supreme
level,
Court.
U.S. or the state? They giggled, but then I don't remember her answering. I didn't hear her answer.
She said Scalia.
And then no one said, because her husband is
Of course.
one of the 7 who forced same-sex marriage
Right.
upon this state.
Which he fully supports.
And no one's asking about all that influence in one family.
Well, Tamara, I was just so frustrated. I had to shut the thing off at one point. I had it TiVoed, and I was just kind of fuming because David, who is a smart guy, I've met with him. He's been on the show. What do you think? Was he that nervous that he missed that many opportunities, or is he trying to play defense?
I think when you are up in front, the lights are on you, your mediators are not necessarily your friends, and she's in her home turf. I won't second guess somebody who's in that situation. I agree with you. He's a bright man, and I think he'll have the right answers when the time comes. I think he'll seek wise counsel. I think that is the key. Not everything that he knows or doesn't know will he seek wise counsel. And I think he's a humble man, and so I have faith that will happen. Believe it or not, it's moving at a fast pace when you're up there under the lights. There were several points that I wish they would have drawn out. They framed the question wrong on the Hobby Lobby issue, that an employer was going to go into the doctor's office with the employee.
Well, she mischaracterized
no
it, and they
employer
bought
wants
into
to
it.
do that, and nowhere was any contraception outlawed or banned. I think 16 types were still optional for these employees.
He
just
could have
not
straightened
those
that
that kill
out,
babies.
and he could have brought up, I mean, the one that almost everybody rejects is partial birth abortion. I think he should have brought this up. Joni Ernst, in her debate, threw out the partial birth abortion on Braley. I think he missed so many opportunities.
Being a man, he's in a difficult position in today's age.
Is he?
With women. Even the question of her with her nanny and her kids, people are feisty over that.
Tamara Scott, the National Committee woman for the Republican Party of the state of Iowa, is our guest. It's Max World with Tom Coates. When we come back, oh my, Joni Ernst and Bruce Braley. I got a brand new joke. Have I told you the joke I wrote?
No.
I got a joke. I wrote it myself. I'll tell you when we get
All
back.
right, okay.
Live here on KTIA.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs,
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fix them problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
"22 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then Pastor Michael Mudloff from Westkirk Presbyterian Church. And True Blue, my guest today, Tamara Scott, the National Committee woman for the Republican Party in the state of Iowa. Of course, it's Max Worlds with Tom Coates, and we sure appreciate you being here.
Me or the audience?
Huh?
Me or the audience?
Both. Joni Ernst and Bruce Braley. I got a joke for you. And honest to heavens, I wrote this. And it is the very first time in my whole life I've sent something to the 2 cents worth in the Des Moines Register, but I haven't seen it in there yet. But I promise I wrote this. Why did the chicken cross the road?
I saw this.
Did you see this online?
Yeah.
Chicken joke. No, what?
Do you know why the chicken
Why?
crossed?
No.
Because he lived next to Bruce Braley.
Because it was safer than going across the yard.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm waiting for the Register to print it. I figured they
I think it is clever.
wouldn't. Well, you know, it's an old
We talked about, we had, who was our guest last week, Mac?
Kevin Hall.
Kevin Hall. And we talked about the iRepublican breaking the Chicken Gate story and all of that. I've had a good time laughing about it. But, Tamara, I said this is a window into the man's character. It seemed like a small issue. The fact he called the attorney, threatening, in essence, a lawsuit, caused him to spend $1,700 of money that the homeowners association was going to spend on infrastructure. You know the story. But it's a relatively small thing, but it's a window into the man's character, just like complaining about the towels and when the government was shut down, just like being caught on tape letting these guard down and revealing who he was down in Texas with the trial attorneys. Your thoughts on that? If we're seeing enough of the Bruce Braley, is it enough to keep him out of the U.S. Senate?
Well, beyond how he gets along with his neighbors or not gets along with his neighbors, I don't know the whole story on the chicken. I won't go there. But the towel is certainly a good indicator of what was so important and pressing on this man's mind when government shut down for the rest of us. The comments about Grassley, a beloved Iowan, well-qualified Iowan, and the elitist attitude of this attorney, certainly not all attorneys. And the fact that he was the closing argument. Nancy Pelosi selected him, or he volunteered to be the closing argument on Obamacare. That tells you. So if I had a one-liner, it's not as clever as Max Chicken, but with Braley, we're going to have more government and excess. With Joni, we're going to have less government and success.
Yeah, and Joni just seems like a no nonsense person. And I think that probably comes from the military.
I just don't think you can find much to fuss about Joni. I laugh because when they try to put out negative ads on her, even in the primary with their own Republicans, I would get these postcards and it would be a negative, right? Most people don't read the fine print like I do. It's just a beautiful picture of Joni Ernst. She doesn't take a bad photo. There's not anything you're really going to nail her on. If there's an October surprise, we'll all be surprised because her credibility is secure. Going to the same church that her kids went to, she's lived in the same community. She has, her character is well known. And I got to go on the last honor flight a week ago. I was in Washington D.C. with 400 veterans. I love doing that. Oh, yeah,
the honor flight.
I love doing that.
Is that the one that Van Harden went on?
Yes, it is. And so a couple of the Guardians were also veterans who had been to Afghanistan and Iraq. And one of them turned to me, not knowing who I was, said, the woman running, I was in Iraq. She wanted to make sure that all of her soldiers came back, and she did it. That was her priority. And he said, that is a person of integrity, and I will vote for her.
And there's a commercial like that out now.
There is now,
Tamara,
yeah.
and it's very well done. It's impugning the authenticity of the attack ads. It's a veteran that served with her. And now, according to the latest numbers out, she outraised Braley considerably, almost 2-1 in the last quarter of the fundraising. I don't know if you saw that.
Well, and on the money aspect, I think it's Washington Examiner maybe did a story. He was whining about the negative ads and the out-of-state money coming in. And, of course, they always try and relate her to the Koch brothers, which I'd like to know, what have they done that's so evil besides promote small business, help corporations, and give people a lot of jobs across this country?
And philanthropically, they've given over $1 billion to very needy causes, too. I mean, unlike the Steyers and the and the Bloombergs and who's George Soros, the skunks on the other side, giving very little to charity. But Steyer says if you don't build the Keystone Pipeline, I'll help raise $100 million to keep the U.S. Senate in Democrat hands. So it's the pot calling the kettle black.
Well,
There's no question.
The article came out in September, I think the 24th, and to that date, the allies, the friends of the Democratic Party out of state had spent, I'm not going to remember what the 9.5 million and 200,000 advantage. So as he's whining, there's a 200,000 advantage his way on negative ads towards Joni. And even again, the negative ads, I hear them, and she's pro-life. And I'm thinking, that's great. That's terrific. The more they say, the more I like.
Yeah, and this is something I asked Kevin Hall. And you'd think as long as I've hung around politics, I'd understand this. But Templeton Rye, okay, they're getting sued because they put on their brood in Iowa, when in fact it was done in an Indiana or an Illinois town. I think you're right. And they're getting sued for that. And yet Bruce Braley or Joni Ernst, whoever it is, can come on and give outlandish statements. And you know somebody's lying because they're telling the opposite on the same topic. Why don't we have something in place in our system that is an unbiased fact checker?
Right. We have PolitiCheck or Politico or Fact Check. There are some. The problem is by the time the ethics does anything about it, if there's something to be done, it's usually after the election. That's how it was when I ran in 2000, and the superintendent from Knoxville on letterhead came out for my opponent. Mm-hmm. But by the time ethics did anything about it, it was after the election.
Yeah, you can't expect any justice. Now, Steve King recently raised an issue. He was so offended by a charge that his opponent made that he actually canceled the debate that they had scheduled as a way to punish the opponent because he doesn't have any other way to get justice. I think that's kind of interesting, although as much as I like and support Steve King, he's not the best debater in the world, so he probably didn't mind getting out of that debate.
Now, I saw him debate last year with Christy Vilsack, and imagine you've got a cabinet member's wife coming after you, former first lady, all the money in the world, and he did really well.
Well, I have seen him on some debates, and I was surprised he didn't do better because he is so outspoken, so intelligent, so well-versed on the issues that I don't remember which debate it was, but it was one of the debates, and I was surprised that he wasn't a better debater, which explained why he hadn't sought out debates in the past. The debate with Joni Ernst, we're talking about the Joni Ernst-Bruce Braley. My contention is that the first one in particular is one most people are watching. They've seen all these ads we're talking about, Tamara. They're wondering what the real people are like. To me, this was a solid win by Joni. She was authentic. She looked into the camera. She was genuine. Braley never did. It was promoted by KCCI, the top news station in central Iowa, and the Des Moines Register. If you were interested in finding out who these people were, you're going to watch that first debate. You might not watch the next two, but you're going to watch that first one. And given that she had momentum, now they said 6 points in the Des Moines Register. That was probably a little high. They're talking about 2 to 3 now. I don't know what you're hearing, but a solid 2 to 3 point lead for Joni Ernst. We'd like to see it 4+ to be into what we might consider a safer category, and probably is not right there. But it doesn't look like Braley's able to get any traction. He didn't get it in this last debate. If anything, he lost ground. Your position on the race and how it's shaping up.
Well, again,
here.
He would be the known entity. She would be the unknown entity. And his unfavorables and, hers, I think we're somewhat comparable, but people have a pretty good record now of who he is and what he's not.
Mm-hmm.
And she's fairly, when she speaks, she is fairly targeted. She's sharp. What I've heard people talk about after that debate was they saw Joni come through. They were waiting for Joni to come through. And when he made the comment about the chicken, or he made the comment about working across the aisle.
Yeah.
And she came back with, you can't walk across the lawn. I don't see you walking across the aisle. People were waiting for that.
Yeah, that was a good comment. And that just shows how sharp she is.
Right.
Because she didn't bring that up. He did.
Right.
But that was good. All right. When we come back, I want to look at things on a national level for just a second. I want to understand why the president has allowed some of the things that he's allowed. We'll talk about that. Tamara Scott is here. Of course, Tom Coates is here. Ryan's producing. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and we'll be back with Max World Live on KTIA. Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
Get away from my Sumito credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
Metro Ford's are everywhere. Metro Ford's are everywhere.
See 'em here, see 'em there. You got bad credit? We don't care.
Metro Ford's are everywhere. Metro Ford's are everywhere.
Visit emetroford.com for your guaranteed credit approval. Good credit, bad credit, no credit. Everybody drives with guaranteed credit approval at emetroford.com.
Metro Ford's are everywhere.
Visit emetroford.com today.
For the top of the hour on the 7th day of October in the Lord's year 2014. And I don't want a whole bunch of mutual admiration club here or a whole bunch of people just sounding like they're Republicans. But we've got this, what do you want to call it? This flu that's going around with these kids.
Ebola?
No. We'll go to that in a minute. This is this breathing flu. That has been going around, and it's hitting kids. At one point, we had like 32 kids in Iowa, and now it's almost in every state. And this is the same epidemic they have in Colombia, where so many of these illegal immigrants came from and walked in this country.
Well, a lot of us predicted that when it happened.
Why? Little boy died the other day. First boy that died, okay?
In Iowa?
No, not in Iowa.
Okay.
I think in New Jersey. He dies. And this is like number 1, 2, or 3 story on the national news. But nobody says, by the way, this is the same outbreak of flu that's in Colombia, where we have received thousands of undocumented
Well, that's
workers.
exactly why they're not saying it.
Exactly.
When I did a show on the kids coming across the border, I had Mary Holes from Texas who was down there with seeing what's coming across. We were doing the show because often these kids come through and they are victims. Which, by the way, that's one more thing that Stacey Appel said in the debate last evening, that how she felt for a mother who would send her 5-year-old away for a better life. Well, my question is, what type of a mother would do that?
Yeah.
A 5-year-old, please. But a lot of these kids who are coming across the border, if they are in fact innocent kids, they're going to get sucked into the cartel. The cartel will take them captive. They'll likely get sucked into trafficking. That's why we were talking about it. And boy, were we lambasted nationally by some pretty good
Really?
sources. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yep.
That I dare speak. And here's the other part of that. When you and I talk about 12-year-olds, we think of the nice junior high kid next door.
Yeah.
But think back. We've seen the videos of a lot of these kids being trained already, indoctrinated in some of this very hateful rhetoric. These kids, you don't know what they've already been suspect to. Mary talks about some of them having to watch someone be disciplined. And when I say disciplined, I mean tortured. And who knows what they come across with, or if they'll meet up with further Muslims here once they get here. 12-year-old in our Revolutionary War, 12-year-olds were fighting.
Yeah,
absolutely. I went to a press conference a couple weeks ago with down at the Capitol with Branstad, and he was pilloried by one woman who must have been very much an activist. Asked him 6 times about these kids, and don't you have compassion, and and on and on. And Branstad kept saying, well, we don't know anything about them. The federal government refuses to tell us anything about them. We're asking questions, and they're hiding them out, and they won't tell us anything about them. The idea that it lacks compassion to say we ought to follow our laws and close the borders is ludicrous to me. We want to go from a nation of 300 million to 3 billion overnight. We just open the borders and let everybody that's worse off than anybody else in this country come on in. We'd be a lot better off, I say, to send them a check and keep them home.
When you're elected, you take an oath of office to protect the Constitution and your state constitution, and that encompasses citizens. It doesn't encompass the world.
That's right.
And so it is unjust mercy. It is unjustified mercy to try and bring in these kids that are going to bring risks and cause harm to those you've taken an oath to protect. You have a responsibility to do things in the most, forgive me, but pragmatic way. And you're right, we'd be better off humanitarian-wise through charity, through missionaries, to find ways to go down there and help, or other ways where we can send help.
Yeah.
But to just bring it in on the government, first off, it's not the government's job ever. There's no separation of church and state in the Constitution, but there is biblically. And it is never the government's job to care for the sick, the needy, the poor. That is the church's or the Christian's job.
Especially when they're not U.S. citizens. And this did not just happen, Tamara. This was contrived by the Obama administration, orchestrated with the assistance of Mexico to transport those, not just all kids. There were adults, too, and there were, who knows how many terrorists came in with that. We don't know. They
and my
don't
guest, my guest last week was Leo Holman, who writes for WorldNet Daily, and he's written an article on stealth jihad and the fact that specific Muslims are being targeted to enter this country with Medicaid dollars. So on your tax dollars, we're bringing in specific Muslims.
They think we're crazy to even talk about this, but this did not just happen. And as I understand, we've got the next wave on the doorstep now, don't we?
Well, let's just ask, do you lock your house?
Yeah.
Lock your car?
Yeah.
Anybody out there who locks their car ought not fuss about an open border.
Yeah.
There's a reason you have a gate.
Yeah.
And it's not for cruelty, it's for protection.
But, my mom used to have a saying, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once these attacks begin, and who in heaven's name is going to say, whoa, when those, you don't know these attacks are going to come. Yeah, we do.
Well,
just look at Europe and look at it. Just look at everywhere else where this starts to happen.
Mm-hmm.
In Imprimis from Hillsdale College, that great little newsletter that comes out, Michelle Malkin, I think this was back in 2008, reminded us that the terrorist attack on our own Twin Towers were from people from within.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Well, I just I just don't understand it. Of course, here's my prediction. My prediction is that when Barack Obama is no longer president, if there's a Democrat in the White House, he will become the, what did I call that? He's going to become the head of the UN. And he's going to take his ideas and his politics to what we all grew up with called the New World Order.
I really always thought that was Hillary's plan. She never wanted to be president. That was just a stepping stone to the UN.
Oh, really?
So you think that that's what Barack's going to do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's where they still don't like each other, and that's maybe this latest revelation by Leon Panetta. He's always been a Clinton person. He's a Democrat, and apparently...
Was he the one who was caught stuffing papers in his britches?
No, that wasn't Panetta. and he's always been viewed as a reasonably respectable Democrat. But his latest book and his interviews really tar Obama pretty badly on the foreign policy issues. Perhaps this is the latest salvo to try to distance the Clintons and the Obamas. Obamas are, their popularity is going down the hill. If Hillary's got any chance to be the president, she's got to further distance herself from the guy. I know Bill just hates him. He reneged on his promises to do things, including supporting Hillary. Now he doesn't want his support. He's become so unpopular, he doesn't want the support. Right. Anyway, that I think is going to continue to be highlighted, the rift between the Clintons and Obamas, which I don't think is contrived. I think it's real. I don't think they've ever liked each other.
Well, Tamara, thanks for being here. It's been way too long. Appreciate all your work and your effort and things like that with the Republican Party. Maybe you should be the next head of the UN. We'll just bypass.
Boy, would things change.
Yeah, no kidding. Tom, thanks for being here as always. Ryan, thanks for producing. Jill, thanks for listening. And I'm J. Michael McCoy. Here's what I'd like you to do tonight. When you say your prayers and you sit down, think of somebody that you really hold a resentment to and you just can't get them out of your head. Tonight, surrender that to Jesus and give it to God and learn to forgive as Jesus taught us how to forgive. We'll see you tomorrow live on KTIA.